This is a Thule Urban Glide, and today we're going to show you how to maintain the brake system, both the dynamic brake at the top and the static brake at the bottom, and how to adjust it, in particular then with the dynamic brake, if you're noticing that it doesn't brake well enough on one wheel, or that it hangs on one wheel, as in brakes too much. So the Thule Urban Glide 2 has a little bit different dynamic brake at the top, but the rest of the brake line system should function the same way. So in relation to maintenance, which we'll deal with first, what you're going to need is a can of WD-40, or in this case I have a multi-spray, and you're going to want to spray down into the brake line. So you can turn it on its side, and here is an adjustment screw at the top. You want to adjust it so that you can see down in there, and then you can just spray some and then leave it on its side for a while so that it can run down in. It is a pretty long system, so if the wire has rusted further down or is too tight further down, you can go down to the point at which the brake line separates into the brake that goes to one wheel and the other. And then you can also move the adjustment screw on top a bit so that you can get into the hole here. And down into the cylinder that houses the brake separation, and then spray a bit. And whenever you're spraying oil into something like this, you want to give it some time to run down inside. And I like to spray in short bursts and wait a bit and do it again, and so on. So that's how you oil up the brake line for the dynamic brake. When it comes to the foot brake, which would be here, the static brake. This is like what you would use when you're locking it on to take it on a bus or something. So sometimes this gets a bit hard to lock and unlock, and this is just a matter of spraying into the side. So again, turn your stroller on its side, and then you want to hit here where the metal pin runs down into the hole. Leave it for a bit, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. And that will generally improve the performance of the static brake on the bottom so that it's easier to lock and take off. Now when it comes to adjusting the brakes, and in this case we're talking about the dynamic brake again, there are multiple points at which you can adjust the dynamic brake. So up at the handle is the first of the adjustment screws, and this will adjust the tension in the entire brake system. And you can just use a pair of pliers to adjust the screw out and then pull the nut back. This one is most relevant if you notice that you can pull the brake line back and forth here against the handle. So I think this one had a little bit of that trouble. You can see that the brake line moves. So then it's a good idea to close up that gap by adjusting the top adjustment screw. Moving down the brake line to the point at which it splits, you can also adjust the length of the overall wire here. Again, just use your pliers, pull it out, and there is a nut that should be pulled down tight towards the bottom. So again, this is just overall length of the wire, as in both wheels are too loose or both wheels are too tight. That's what those two will be for, or that you have too much slack at the handle, as I showed you. Now if you're having trouble with one or the other wheel, that it is too loose or too tight, I'm going to now show you how to deal with that. So we'll remove the wheel so you can see how this functions. On the inside of the wheel, there is this metal cylinder part on the innermost edge of this wheel, and that is being pinched right in here by the brake caliper. So the wire runs down here, and when you squeeze the handle, there's a rubber ring here that squeezes down and clamps on that metal. The tightness at which this will clamp tightly together is adjustable here on the adjustment screws on either side. So right now it's at its loosest point, but if I wanted to make it tighter, I would adjust the adjustment screw outwards or upwards, and then again tighten the nut. And this will mean that the rubber ring is now in its resting position, tighter towards the wheel, and thus it clamps more when you pull on the brake handle. So that is how you adjust the dynamic brake and how you maintain both the dynamic and static brakes on the Thule Urban Glide. We hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has been, we ask you to subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. Thank you.